One is, my father was a behaviorist. He was working with rats and pigeons, teaching the pigeons to fly missiles, teaching them to sort mail. He was working with behavior in and of itself, very anti-social Darwinism, anti-genetic cause of behavior. It favored nature over, for 99%. Just like some people think 99% of our behavior and personality is predetermined by our genes. I tend to think it's somewhere in the middle there, but how do I say, he raised me in a Skinner box for 5 or 6 years, just to sleep and play. He let me out sometimes, but and he did some operant conditioning on me. It's kind of interesting. I knew a lot of colors of yarn. He would throw this thing out, and it had like 30 yarns, and he'd say, I was like only 6 or 8 months old, and he'd say, go get me the ecru. And I'd pull it out and bring it to him, and he'd give me an M&M. So. Come on. You too, come on. Yes. When do you get a chance? Come on. There's room. No, come on.
Listen to the experts. Tell us to be everything.
The idea that animals in captivity, and a lot of the problem with enrichment, whether it's for lab animals or for zoo animals, or for pets, or for domesticated humans, is that without something to enrich your life, without something to interest you, you end up with neurotic behavior. Often, things like biting yourself or hurting yourself, and in particular in the zoo, people don't like to go to the zoo and see the polar bear pacing, endlessly pacing, in a small space, or, they don't like to see gorillas vomiting and then eating their vomit just to get a rise out of the crowd, or because they're actually really kind of sickened by the whole thing. And so there's a tendency to come up with ways to help animals. At the very least, it's to give them what they say here. This is the animal enrichment. It's called animalenrichment.org. It's actually Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park program. First, they want animals in captivity to exhibit naturalistic behavior. So they're actually consulting with ethologists and saying, how do we get them to behave like they would in nature? To give them control over their environment so they don't feel just like they're in jail, which they sort of are. Like I said, to reduce their stereotypic abnormal behaviors. In zoos, we have lots and lots of endangered animals, and they want to breed them. But they use breeding techniques that are really unusual for these animals. Not the kind they would use in the wild, because they want to collect sperm from gorillas. It's not so different from training. You know what I mean? They want to train the gorillas to give sperm in exchange for M&Ms. Kind of Skinnerian thing. And I have films. I actually have these great films from another site, enrichment.org, has a library of films of how to get sperm from a gorilla. How to train them to open up and put their penis in the hole and But these are difficulties that zookeepers have. I also relate this to the human condition. This is from New York, the designer liquidation sale, that we also live in captivity to some extent. Maybe this is like the human park debate. But right now, the state of enrichment in zoos is still in its infancy. It's very, very young. They're giving rubber balls, they're called boomer balls, to like elephants. Bungee cord, for a raccoon. The animals don't care about, design. They just like a, what's that?
Maybe in the future they develop some kind of taste,
Well, I think it's up to us to see what they prefer, whether they like a sort of a more advanced setup, or whether a towel on bungee cords is really great. I mean, I don't know, I haven't been in one, but it sounds good. Fire hose seems really popular in the zoos. And this is also important. A lot of times, they actually, like this is what it looks like behind the scenes at a zoo. It looks actually a lot like a lab. In the front, it might be trees, etc. And in the back, it's balls and fire hoses, but also sometimes toys from the toy store, and television, and magazines, things like that for primates at least. Apparently putting peanut butter far up into a tube and giving a stick to a higher primate keeps them busy for hours. Here's opossums playing with toys. They would never show this in the front, right? Because it's not naturalistic, but they do like it. So. Long story. And then a lot of enrichment goes on during holidays, human holidays, like Halloween or Christmas. You know, Sinterklaas, they get sort of like, you know, paper mache Christmas trees stuffed with meat. There seems to be a fetish for cardboard boxes. Like, in other words, if you put the meat in the cardboard box, a big cat feels as if they're tearing open something. And it's better than just getting a bowl of meat, really, because they feel like they're hunting a little. But once again, they just assume that the Pepsi box doesn't bother them lying. We had a story of a orangutan that was keeping pictures of Elle Macpherson under his pillow. He tore one out of the magazine, and they took it away. And then the next day he tore out a picture of a red kitten and put it under his pillow. And the assumption was that therefore the orangutans like red-haired organisms like themselves. My assumption, very Freudian maybe, was that the orangutan thought Elle Macpherson was hot. He was saving her picture for late at night for masturbation, and they took her away, and then he found the red kitten because he was suppressing, like actually the zookeepers were repressing him, like sexually sublimating into a kitten. Or maybe zoophilia is zoophilia, and whether it's a human or a cat, it's still kinky to an orangutan. But anyway, my class came up with a porn magazine for orangutans, so they wouldn't have to resort to it. Does that look familiar? You know, you don't see a tiger doing this much, but he was batting it around. And inside there was rabbits, dead rabbits, inside a pig pinata. This guy got a rat pinata, and because he's an old lion with his teeth had all fallen out, they use like raw horse meat food product, which is like spam, you know, or ground up. But he tore into it. And then we made this robot cat, and this tiger made friends with it and wouldn't. He was like, I think he recognized it as a cat, so we had to bring in another tiger who didn't make friends with it at all, but was sort of like, just wanted to eat it. But then it played with its head. It's really interesting. So I'm going to give you just an idea of what usually my assignment is, and we're going to actually do some drawing. The first idea is to think about animal, and I include non-human, because actually I think we're all non-human. All animals and non-animals are, I don't know, I can't even explain that one, but that I believe that there's consciousness everywhere. And so fungi have consciousness, protists have consciousness of some sort. You know, it may not be based on the same stuff that we have, but it's possible that we don't have as much as we think anyhow. But the first idea is designing for free living non-humans, which is just to try to, this is when I set up for Artist Zoo, and some of my students did things, to think about, and this is sort of why I brought you guys in, to think about who you are trying to enrich. In other words, you have to know your organism, and not from a human standpoint, but from a difference standpoint, in order to enrich them. You have to know what they want. You know, like the idea of throwing bugs into a chicken coop is pretty good. You know, it's a fun thing for a chicken to be like, I'm gonna find these bugs that are hopping around, but you have to know what they eat. You have to know what they like. Giving animals control, how do I say? There's lots of different things, temperature controls, water flow, interspecies or even international communication. So like if some of your cosmopolitan chickens are in Washington and some of them are in Belgium, why not give them a video phone like a Skype connection? You know what I mean? So they can be like, how's it going in Washington?
I did it here in Amsterdam, by the way. The opening in Washington, I was talking for the opening here in Amsterdam at the same time. So, but you're right, we can do it for the chicken as well.
Yeah, cool. And then a lot of what, maybe you guys can speak on this, but when you're designing for different senses, most humans design first for visual and then second for sound. Then we get into audio visual, it's a big new media thing. But most animals are, their first thing is like vibration and scent. You know what I mean? Warmth before what they can see or hear. And they may have a totally different spectra for their ears and for their eyes. And these are the type of things that are, you have to design for the full range of what an organism can enjoy, right? This was the first form. I kind of like forms that I developed, and I'll try to zoom in on. The idea was that you pick an animal that you would enrich, and then you name the device that you would be making a concept for. And then we would be asking for a zookeeper's advice. But on this, in this lab, we would be asking for your advice, your guys' advice, and then some of the different ways of enriching are giving new ways to play or problem solving, group dynamics, like a social enrichment. These are ideas also for future experiments for you, right? Different kinds of stress reduction, environmental controls for animals, like things that animals can do to change their own environment. Mixed species, they're only starting to do this in zoos, where they put in 3 or 4 different species together and let them have the interest of other species. It's quite lonely, I think, to be isolated as one species. Environmental architecture, and then these other senses, right? Your sound, your smell, your tactility, like your touch, different tastes. We don't know much about, say, for instance, taste buds on a bird tongue. Do we know if they have bitter and sweet and salty, or if they have extra taste buds that we don't even know about, right? Different temperatures, vibrations, vision. The animal consciousness is obviously a big question for me, but husbandry aids are kind of interesting, right? Like you may be providing husbandry aids for these English chickens. Well, I don't know. I think besides that, I came up with this weird form, and you guys can take a look at this. This is an extension of this form. And it just asks these questions. Now, this form is based on the World Conservation Society, WCS. Yeah, they had one at their zoo that they gave me, and I tweaked it a little bit. So it gets consecutively more weird, actually, like the questions. But these are the kind of questions I think an ethologist would be asking about how to enrich a new organism. And sort of seeping in there is there are different philosophical things. For instance, there are some enrichment specialists that think that to enrich an animal is to give it a job. Like animals want to work. It's a certain kind of, philosophy. It's a question. So it's like, should the non-human be kept busy or have work to do? Providing jobs for people is enrichment. It's a question. And then there's just questions like, does the non-human have an avenue for revolt? In order to get good results on feeding experiments with animals, you have to make them hungry first. So you limit their diet so that they're hungry, so that they respond to the test. Like your mealworm tests won't work if they're not hungry to begin with. So
Yeah.
at least with his rats, they'd have hungry rats, and then they had some of the first computers with the banana plugs, and this computer would randomly drop grain, 1 grain at a time. 1 at a time, but randomly from the top of the cage, and they had 20 cages and 20 different rats, and they dropped 1 at a time, but they covered the cages so that the rat didn't get any influence from the outside. And they left them there for a week, and then at the end of the week, they raised all the cages. And each rat was doing something different, superstitious, that they thought made the grain come from the sky. So one rat was going like this. And the grain would come, so they knew it was working after a week. And the other one was going, like this, over and over, because that was the system that worked. And they had come up with it themselves in isolation. It was the humana humana. I'm not sure how much of human behavior isn't exactly that. Because the rewards from the world, there's an abundance in the world, but sometimes you get more and sometimes you get less.
There's no punishment.
And yeah, there's no order to some extent to actual living. And so a lot of what we're doing, I think, is based on, it seems to be working. Like I'll fill up my car and I'll go down there because there's an ATM and it seems to be working, but it's all based on some ritual. So that's my addition. What I would hope is we look at these questions, and there's only a few of us, but I'm gonna have you guys do it too, because I got art materials and paper, and we take some time to think about chickenness and draw up what we could do to enrich a chicken. And then we're gonna have you guys take a look at what we draw, and even we'll look at each other's and figure out what's wrong, right, or funky about our ideas. Okay, so I'll put this down.
And they invited scientists to come up with ideas to do sort of science on hand science.
Uh-huh.
So you use the people that come there as your guinea pigs.
As your research
And
animals.
Yeah, and we're thinking of doing really behavioral tests on these humans that are normally done on animals,
Uh-huh.
and try to see if you can then find human traits in
Right.
these animal tests.
Oh wow, so set up some big artificial trees and stuff. This is the weird thing. In science, you can't do that without them signing a human subjects form.
Yeah, so that's what I have to do there as well.
But if you do it as performance art, nobody, you could do endless psychological and behavioral experimentation without human subjects forms, as long as it's art.
Yeah, but then you can't publish it in scientific journals or in a lot of behavioral scientific journals because they ask for like numbers of
Yeah.
the protocols that you.
Yeah.
Are you doing chickens?
Well, it sort of looks like chicken.
Alright, maybe I'll switch back to chickens now.
Not the red one.
Yeah, I can bring it.
Not the red one.
Yeah, good. doing? Do you need to trade colors?
I'm okay. Oh, you have nice red pen.
Second project is making a piece of art for a chicken. Right? Like what? Because we might go to your chickens. Maybe we can give some art to them.
Yes.
So what would you make for a chicken?
Does the non-human have good posture?
Does what?
Where did that come from?
What does it say?
Does the non-human have good posture?
Oh, well, I mean, it's an artistic questionnaire, but good posture. Well, I mean, because then you can enrich them through yoga, or give them, like a lumbar support chair or something. It depends.
It's very good.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
The last one is what? Drawing.
Yeah.
Drawing as a chicken.
Yes.
Good luck. Drawing as a chicken, or what's the common way of thinking about it is you can't be a chicken, so you can be in the process of being a chicken.
That's why I need coffee.
Yeah, right?
As a chicken.
Dan volgens mij zo'n kip het zo doen. Zijn we er een beetje tekort van kip?
Two yellows for what? For one brown.
Yeah. I want to get it.
Yeah, I'll steal it then.
Yeah. Not bad though. Is this your first artist's fee? You're getting paid for this. Not bad.
Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it?
Do you have a color other than green?
Yellow.
Okay. Thank you.
This one's well, that's a chicken eye, a golden chicken eye. And this is some kind of wheat corn? But this is, what's that thing we sent to outer space? Like the message to the aliens? I realize I don't know who the chickens are, so we have to send them like a message to the aliens. Hello, we are humans, we live on Earth. Right.
What was the middle one?
The middle one was
Art for the chicken.
art for the chicken. Yeah.
Oh.
The middle is art as a chicken.
You're talking, yeah, okay. Go ahead and draw. Oh, that one's lovely.
A lot of positive energy, you see?
Yeah. Do chickens see in color? Does anybody know?
Yeah. They see a lot more UV. Infrared.
Oh, cool.
And they hardly see the other spectrum, but they have 4 cones instead of 3. Birds have 4 cones. We only have 3.
Like CMYK? But no, I'm kidding.
No,
They have 4
Yeah.
colors instead of RGB or whatever. They're in a different color.
yeah, but they have UV as well. So they have not only the actual color
So we need UV colored pens.
We have, but we won't see it.
Okay, so there's UV coming off of our pages, but we don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
So you need glasses.
Yeah.
That's the.
To see like a chicken. Should we look at each other's art and ask questions? Is anybody ready? For a while, but I soon realized. So, first let's figure out what people are doing. What's this one?
It was a mirror, and around the frame of the mirror is LED lights, which kind of glow in different colors. And then they're on a layer on top of the LED lights is tasty something or other that the chicken can eat or lick.
Around the LEDs, like a halo.
Kind of as
food.
like a layer over top.
Oh, nice.
In the middle is a mirror so the chicken can watch itself. I don't know.
Well, that's all right, but what kind of food do you know?
No, I have no idea what chickens like to eat. Actually, I discovered as I was doing this form.
What's the range of chicken yums? Yummy, tasty things.
First of all, anything that moves. That's with proteins.
Worms somehow stuck on it then.
Worms and bugs?
Yeah.
Are you going to glue them to the LEDs? That's very bioart. It's very popular these days. Worm and bug torture, yeah. But actually, you can also put
It could be something else other than LEDs.
Do they eat sugar?
Do they like to lick things? Like,
No.
They eat corn, right?
They eat corn. They like to peck at things. Yeah.
Nice. Right, and then we're going to talk about how these work for chickens, but what's this one? This is crazy.
well, I always wanted an igloo, but then when I thought I might get an igloo, the whole bird flu thing came out. And then we have foxes in our back garden. So that's kind of sort of my back garden. And I was thinking, at first I was going to do the squirrel because I didn't really follow your instructions.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
So basically, when I walk along this path, there's always these squirrels that are eating and they're dropping things from the trees, and they never hit me. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be quite cool to create a squirrel maze, which then the squirrel would take out the food and drop it for the chicken. But I've since discovered that chickens only like to eat things that move.
They
so I
prefer
don't-
things that move, but they also eat a lot of grains, of course. But if you want to enrich their food only, then I would take something moving.
Well, this is my really great drawing. That's the igloo,
Yeah.
and then there's the run chicken run.
That's all right.
I think to give it the mirror to see itself, that's. I think that's very interesting for the chicken, that they can. And I forgot how you formulate your second question.
I don't remember either. Let me think. Art for the chicken?
Yeah, that's an art for the chicken,
Yeah.
It's and from my thinking, of course, because my thinking is involved in this drawing, it's like, I take the chicken as a piece of art in itself. So if the chicken can watch itself, then it becomes a piece of art.
It has it's its own art.
It's its own art. So the chicken doesn't know that it is art. It's like, and if you take it as a metaphor for human beings, we are art. So if we watch ourselves into the mirror, we are art.
Yeah.
That's the piece.
There's a cutoff point, supposedly, where which organisms can recognize themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
They've shown that dolphins can. They do this experiment where they put a dot on the side of them, and they look in the mirror and they go like this.
Okay.
What is that?
They watch.
Yeah, and but if you put a mirror for a tiger, they attack.
Well, I think the rooster as well. He will for sure attack the other one because he's thinking that's another one. But for the female, I don't think so. The female will be. I know what the female does. Yeah, but it's not proud or something. But it's just looking.
Yeah,
It's curious.
checking out.
Yeah, checking out who is it.
First of all, when we look in the mirror, do we see ourselves correctly? And second of all,
Do we like it?
Yeah, do we like it? And then who's to say that self-recognition is important? For every animal is great in its own niche, has its own way.
Whereas if my dog, if it hears its name on the television, it knows it's its name and it gets really excited. So I think it's just dependent on the chicken, what the chicken uses to identify itself with.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. So which art will you give it? It's like saying if the chicken notices that it is a piece of art, then he becomes an artist in himself. So he probably doesn't know.
Yeah.
So This is the difference between human and chicken
Yeah.
until now.
This was an answer to the second question. So it's art for a chicken, but it should be something that they can use. So it's sort of like a game art. It has something with colors and different dots and stuff like that. But it's also sort of a game. So they have to touch something here, then they have to go around here, and they have to find the same pattern here, and then step on this one, and then they get food.
Oh, nice.
One thing is, of course, if you have a chicken, his eyes are here, so you can make two things at the same time. Well, the blue is sort of the ultraviolet, and I would say art for a chicken is the same as daily life. That's food and sex.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
very
pretty-
simple.
But they can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
First, I thought to enhance the life of a chicken. I think when I see the chickens, they like to scratch like this. So it enhance their feet, so they
Give
can,
them big scratchers.
do really big scratches. And what they also like to do is sit in the dust and shake off these fleas and lice. So to have sort of something that helps them to give a real good wash, like
Oh, fans and dust.
yeah, big fan blowing everything off.
All right.
And they just step on the little on switch.
Well, I'll tell. Yeah, this one is for the chicken. It's art for the chicken. And I don't know why I started with a chicken eye, because you showed a photo of a chicken eye. I made a golden eye, probably some James Bond shit. But and then a giant piece of wheat. And then I realized that I don't even understand chicken perception at all. Senses I might not understand, but even perception, like once you, all right, this is the range of senses, but how do they perceive that? So I started making a grid that was wavy, because I was trying to figure out chicken perception, like how they would appreciate that. And then I realized that space communication thing we sent into outer space, you know, with the man and the woman, and like where we are in that we might as well send it to a chicken too, right? I mean, in some ways, they're aliens to us, and they're so like, here's a, not that, I don't understand that drawing.
Using the Adam and Eve stuff also together.
I guess, but I don't understand that image that much, you know, like with all the lines. Like if I got that, if I was roaming around outer space and I got that, I'd just be like, it's a nice piece of art. I wouldn't necessarily go and try and find Earth.
I always wondered why the guy is shaved in the picture. It's more a fashion statement, isn't it, that we sent out?
Yeah. And the woman has no vagina. It's tough.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Those aliens.
That's the first thing they'll ask. How will they reproduce? How
Mine.
The chicken trail feet excrement dust trail.
I don't remember what that one was for.
I know when people want to shit, they usually do a special run, you know, like away. But like, do chickens just shit, or do they like say, I'm gonna shit?
No, they just do it. The chickens, they just do it. Like I have in my field, there are also running llama. The llama is going to a specific place, always to the same place. But the chicken, no. Chicken is like shit and eat at the same time.
But do they have a
Also,
do they have a
sex and food. I mean, everything is there, and you know, everything happens on the same time, and it's go very fast. All the
The only
things.
special shit thing is that they shit when they're scared and fly away. Just to get
that's
rid of
another-
some weight.
Yeah.
That's a general.
Yesterday we did the photo shooting. Yeah, there was a lot of shit there.
from the flashes? Yeah.
Yeah, because just,
That
when
would be
you
quite cool to catch it in kind of transit.
Strobe shit. Yeah. No, but what about? Do they ever shit when they're mad? Like they look at the other one and go. When they're
no, I
fighting.
didn't notice. The only thing is fear.
Yeah.
When there is fear, they shit. For years, they have a special attraction with chickens. They had it in a cage, and so they played different music, and the chicken was dancing on the music. But the trick was very tricky. You know what they did? They were heating the plate, and the chicken was like, that's really mean, you know.
Yeah.
And then from the moment I have an installation with an empty incubator where there is the sound of little chicks are coming out of the transparent incubator, and it's going like cheep, 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 cheep. So they start immediately to get around, to look around, so they like it. Also, there is also a misunderstanding a lot, because if I expose my chickens somewhere, you know, it's always like, do we have to cover the cage if the opening is here, and all this kind of question. No. Chickens who are domesticated, they like it when their people come, because this is social. It's a social animal. They are used to humans.
Yeah.
There is a lot of misunderstanding in these things.
So he combined song and personality, and he found out that fast birds sing differently from slow birds. So females can really just listen to their song and think, okay, over there, 100 meters apart, there's a fast guy.
They're a bit more like gangster rap, probably.
They have like a more different song, so they have more melodies within a certain type of song. So they're more variable.
Then the personality is personality correlated with song?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's not that every female chooses one song type, so they choose different song types. And they always thought that's because some females just choose males that are lower quality. But it's not the case, it's because they have different personalities. So they could...
What I think is interesting, and we didn't mention this today, but you're always coming to the same point, is the female who make the choices.
Yeah.
Female choice.
Always.
Yeah.
And then females choose a mate, and they fight one-to-one with a female maybe, but it's always the females that choose. That's great. Yeah.
I think sexual selection has been focused mostly on the idea of female choice, and it's quite interesting.
A woman choose mostly for a creative man. So also that's a great answer in what your lecture was, like saying that there is no a good slow and a good fast. Being creative is like choosing on the moments that you have to be fast. You have to be fast on the moments that you have to slow. Yeah? That's creativity. Yeah. So mostly the female is choosing for that, for creativity man, not the one who's going very fast in the war, you know, shooting down and finish. Yeah.
But there are females who like boring men.
Yeah, that's
luckily.
Yeah, there's actually, I mean, I learned a lot of this from, from sperm competition books. There's these sperm competition books, and
it's good you qualified it with the books part.
Yeah, well, that many times women will become actually not just allergic, but like resistant to a regular redundant partner's sperm. Like their common partner, and then a sneaky, charming mailman will knock on the door, and then there's some fast love, and that sperm gets in right away because there's less defense, they're less used to it, their body. But there's also kamikaze sperm. In other words, like if you get many animals have sex with multiple partners, and then the sperm fight, and there are actually some sperm will go head to head, like against another sperm. They stick and they commit suicide to let their other brother sperm or sister sperm get ahead.
I also just learned that the placenta is mainly male tissue.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's the placenta who sort of decides how the energy flows go to the mother and to the offspring.
I sort of heard a story that roosters are sensitive to light. So I thought maybe build a nice lamp that can shine different lights, and you can choose.
Yeah. Cool. And the clock?
In the morning the sun comes up, so that's their normal time that the light starts. But now they can sort of
related to the light. When I make drawings, a lot of them show the unicorn on top of the beak. So the little chick has it to break the egg, you know.
Oh, that's right. It falls off afterwards.
Why not giving it a unicorn forever, and hopefully in the future it can be. In a biological way they can give it further to each other, you know. That's
I don't know how you would do it.
Well, if you put the unicorn thing in the middle, it doesn't know it's there even though it is there. That's the opposite of what you said, right? I like what you said better.
So would it be able to see it? It would know, would it?
It would know it was there, but it can't see its.
No, it's, he's not able to see it because, yeah, but if you make it long enough, you can see it in that point. Yeah.
So you
No.
were saying the opposite, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking if we know all these things, like in terms of a chicken's identity, how much is it tied up into its visual, kind of rather than proprioception?
Proprioception.
Yeah.
Because of the eyes are standing on the side, it's able to see everything, you know, it's able to see the world, and that's why normally a chicken originally is a vegetarian, you know, and most of the animals who have the eyes on the side are vegetarian. The other ones who have the eyes in the front, like we, are attacking and eating meat. So it's this kind of thing from the nature to protect, you know, and but of course there are exceptions like the eagle, and that's why I'm showing also in my lecture, like the eagle and the chicken. It's the power and the strength. If you bring power and strength together, so power has more to do with taking than making. You know, the chicken is more on the side of helping.
But if you did something which was allowing the chicken to see the world in a different way, which is kind of what art is for, isn't it? So if it sees in ultraviolet, can you show it an ability to see the world like another type of species or different?
But we give already the chicken a lot, by the way. But we change it from vegetarian into cannibal, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just change. Yeah?
Most species are not vegetarians; they're omnivores, but they have most of the. Well, no, there are hardly any real vegetarians because they always try to get some proteins in. And even if you have like pure vegetarians, what we think of vegetarians, if you make them choose between easy, approachable, protein-rich food, they will choose that. They always like it more because it's easier.
About pigeons and birds in the city, because you have all these fruits hanging on the trees and they don't eat them. When you go and pick berries, people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that because you should leave them for the birds," but they don't eat them.
No,
They're probably eating something.
yeah.
Garbage.
Protein
Yeah,
rich.
you have bird species that are really specialized on berries, but that's other birds than pigeons and stuff. I took my kids to University Museum in Utrecht, and one of the things they had was glasses for humans to show them what a chicken sees. So you just have two mirrors like this, so you can only see this. So you should be able to make something for a chicken that it can see.
Is that what you're doing there?
That one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, but
It exists for chickens, but you know why it exists? It exists that they don't attack each other on taking the feathers. So what we give it is the opposite, not to help it, not to enrichment, not to give them an enrichment, but just to be confused. But we can make one who never confused, you know, who's really giving the view, the total view, also at that mixed point, you know.
is there a schizophrenic bird?
Of course. I mean, I think that I saw already sick chickens in the head. I mean, who attacks, who kill. Is it sick? I don't know. Maybe it's simply nature. But you see crazy ones who are fighting to themselves, who are taking their feathers out. I mean, this is more the crazy stuff, I guess.
But they are there. I mean, it's. I shouldn't say this, but if you have like personality variation, you also have personality disorders.
Yeah.
You also have them in the wild, but you don't see them because they will die. We are sort of maintaining this variation because we are taking care of all the weaker people. I shouldn't say that we shouldn't, but this is sort of why we keep on getting this variation.
Yeah.
And it's,
So there's a whole bunch of psychological research that was done in the 70s, 60s on mood.
yeah.
And
There's still a lot done on positive mood and positive emotions and stuff like that. I think it's difficult to translate that to non-human animals.
yeah,
Because mood is
it
how you feel, and then you come with this
Yeah.
consciousness again.
I made a Milgram experiment. I made a big red throne for a chicken. That's just for comfort, like king chicken. And then there's a button that it can push, obviously not with its wing, but maybe its beak or foot, but and it makes a human scream every time it pushes it. That one's for you. Working it in. So you can be screaming remotely for the chicken at request.
Well, I've been talking about that this morning when I came here. Like in zebra finches, they found zebra finches have an orange patch here, and females choose mates along this patch. What we do is to individually recognize birds is we put bands on their legs, and they have different colors. And what they found was that when they did mate choice experiments, nothing matched. Only the color of the leg rings matched with the choice of the females.
It's interesting.
So I think when they had red and orange, they were like preferred, and green they were not preferred, something like that.
Right.
But
So-
with the rooster is the rat in the head who is impressive for the female and also impressive for the fight. That's what you did.
Bigger one.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah, the prosthetic, we call it a comb.
yeah. The
prosthetic comb,
If
the
you,
cock's
if, you,
comb.
if you make that like this, I mean, this is
It might-
prestigious, and you see this with the pheasants, for example. The pheasant, when there is the mating season, you know, the rat is become the double of what it is. So also the chicken has their, and it's like a signal, you know, red.
Well, that's the whole thing about something like this. This is a signal, but the rest of the body is also a signal. So if you might do this, you might expect that this bird will become like the guy in the population, but the rest of his body signals that it's not right. So females will think that's a cheater. And so they will see that.
But that's great. So you see, and that's very interesting. You see the pheasant is changing his feathers, you know. He's doing the feathers on one side, and then it's like one wall full of colors, you know. And then the female is like impressed by all this color. But then, if the guy is not doing well, and you see this in captivity, the hen is able to see the dark side, because you know, if the male is doing all the feathers on one side, that means on the other side he's ugly. You know, he's very ugly. If the female get that interest there and get it, then he said, "You're cheating. You're not the right guy." And then she's behaving exactly like the guy. So she's turning like this, and then they start to fight instead of having the mating.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's beautiful. For me, it's clair obscur Rembrandt.
Yeah, all one side, right? It's well lit on one side.
No, on one side they can choose whatever they do. On this side, this is really loud and it's got some visual input. And here it's like they have got something on their heads and they have no input at all. So they can choose there. Here they can choose between a more green area or a real gray area. They can also choose to stay in circles or go somewhere else. Here they meet something which is questionable. They can choose to either go ahead or
The surprise.
it's sort of surprise. Here they're told that they shouldn't go there, so you can see whether they have the choice to obey or to disobey. They can also choose between areas where there's more space and where there's less space. Here there's more variation in color where they walk on, so they can maybe stay there for a bit. So it's just a choice chamber. I've studied macaws as well, and I just looked at them for hours, just playing in the wild. It's really cool. Just a pair was just playing and allopreening and preening. And
What do they do for playing?
they hang on branches with one foot, and the other one is pecking the other one on the foot, and then they're
They're kind of laughing
it's
in their own way.
it's really.
But with chickens, the fight goes on, you know.
That's also great.
Yeah, the fight goes on.
Yeah, greatest in chicken is similar. So they have these stable hierarchies, which will always change, of course. But there is some sort of a hierarchy. You know who's the boss. You know who's there, and they try to get higher. But in like the sort of more social systems, they just tolerate each other.
But it's all based on food there, I think.
Exactly. There is a certain play in chicken, that is that they toss stones instead of, and that's sort of to learn what is food and what is not food. And you can call it play.
But that's our play. know,
Exactly.
solo play.
It's
not their
on
play.
yeah.
There's this really good book called Animal Play by Burkhardt. Have you seen that? Yeah. It itemizes out all the topologies of play and animals.
What it could
But
be.
as far as I can see in my garden, I don't see a lot of play there.
Yeah.
I see a lot of fight,
What
competition.
about, they don't feel like sorrow, like, I lost. Maybe.
No, they
I don't know. Yeah, right. Is this art by the chicken?
Yeah, this is art by the chicken. But anyway, I translate again myself into this process, and I think I think if chicken should make art, it's like a chaos with a certain order. And I think also when I do this, I make chaos in a certain order. So maybe when we should allow chickens to make some art, there comes something out of it. But I mean, beside of this, and it comes by coincidence, I think this one is maybe the closest one to the chicken, because it will destroy the paper and eat it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like,
That one's by you, yeah? Excellent.
so, and I think, yes, together, I mean, it fits.
We can go there and we can present, if we want, some of these art pieces to the chickens and watch them eat them. I got some gifts. I don't know, maybe this is the last thing we do is tell me. So tell me at the same time if any of this is like actually helpful for a chicken. So like, if we give this to your chicken, A, is it good for the chicken, and B, is it shitty for the art? You know? Shitty for the art, for sure. This football. Does a chicken want a football? Does a chicken want a rubber duck?
I doubt.
What about this?
Well, I think
This is the good one.
Yeah.
Well, the chicken
It'd be
will
interesting.
start, and the sound. Yeah. But to be honest, they will not touch it, I guess.
What if we put this stuff inside the inner ball so that they have to move the ball around to get the grain out? Is that
You think that the pet stuff will help?
do you think, well no, I'm asking, I mean,
That is helping for sure.
yeah. What about, I mean, this is a parakeet candy bar. Do you think that helps? Or we can hang these from bungee cord. Huh? What about this this hammer?
Mysterious chicken death.
I don't know. I'm just feeling this out.
This is maybe for eggs. You know.
This is a Porto nest. So this one wins. This one wins. This is a maybe, huh?
This is a maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure that this win. I mean, I think the color is too flashy for them. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if it wins. Zie je de verschillende generaties? Mechelse koekoek, Mechelse bres, Mechelse redkap, Mechelse giant, Mechelse Dresden, Mechelse uilbaar, Mechelse Louisiana, Mechelse fighter, Mechelse oracana, Mechelse longcrawler, Mechelse kubalaya. En in het kot zit de Mechelse ancona met de Russen en die brengen dan de Mechelse orlof. It's the whole generation, and there is the whole generation the same as stuffed koekoek, poulet de bres, Mechelse bres, you know. And so the line is going until the cage, and the cage is the actual breeding. We cannot enter the cage because it's locked.
That's okay.
But so you have to do it in front of the.
Yeah. Let's see. Like, and make little chicken noises like.
here, chicken. Come on, come in, chicken.
Beef. The Russian. Maybe you have to choose for another language.
Starting to get bored. Russian.
Try Russian chicken.
Try Russian.
I have to say, these are the most attractive chickens I've ever seen.
Really?
No, they're really cute because they're very.
Yeah, they're strange also.
Yeah, they look like kind of like
Females with a beard, I don't trust them.
Well, if you think about the Russian, so it's always a translation from culture. But
Then you might have
And so with the opening, the man who was questioning, he said, yeah, maybe you talk about multicultural, but I think it's multi-racial. But that's not true. I mean, there is no race in chicken.
I have the first chicken art printed.
but it's what is a species, what is a race, what is a subspecies.
But for humans, you cannot speak about
yeah,
race.
I would go with this one. This is more what you would do. Yeah? What do you think?
That's what I wanted to ask.
Russians like cake.
Yeah, you know, you see,
Oh wow.
this
It's
one
like-
goes, but he thinks it's food, I guess.
Russians can say pop. That's what they call it. That's enrichment. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm?